Hello everyone. Today I am going to talk about one food item. I have started to think about each food item since I started reversing diabetes, since I started eating to reverse diabetes. So each food that you consume is important in the sense that it impacts your blood sugar, it impacts your health, it impacts your protein, it impacts your general well-being. So I'm now more interested in each ingredient that goes in, how it impacts me. Mung bean has been a staple in my house. We use it almost every day. And this is a good source of protein, fiber, and a source of carbs. So I use it in my plate. I use this to replace my rice. I use a little quantity of mung bean to replace rice. But I had heard that the sprouts are a better option. Some doctors have said you use mung bean sprouts as a salad in your food plate. Then when I suggested mung bean sprouts in one of my videos, somebody called me up and told me that in one of the classes of an Ayurvedic doctor that she had attended, they said that mung bean sprouts are not a source of protein, but they are vegetables. The sprouts are vegetables only, a kind of vegetable. That puzzled me, and I searched the net for more information. And then I thought maybe the soaking would have swelled up the granules of the each mung bean, and that might have increased the weight, and so 100 grams would become much less. See, 100 grams of this mung bean, when I soaked and tried it, became 5 half cups, 2.5 cups of mung bean, or 260 grams of by volume, 260 grams by weight. But the proportion of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats that was available in the net for 100 grams of dry beans and 100 grams of sprouted mung bean did not correlate, even allowing for the water content, the soaking, and the volume. See, this is the 100 grams of mung bean that I soaked for 4 days. I hope you saw that. It has become quite a lot. This is the dry one, and this is the soaked and sprouted one. But I calculated that also, and it did not correlate. There was no correlation. There was some loss of carbohydrates and some loss of protein while sprouting. And then I read about botany and biochemistry, I think it is called, and the science of sprouting. And then I found that when the mung bean is soaked, the water will wake up the seed. We have the poem, wakes at the sunshine and creep to the light, wakes at the raindrops bright. So, wakes at the voice of the raindrops bright. So that is what happens in the case of the soaked beans also. When you soak the beans, it wakes up the seed. It wakes up the enzymes in the seed, and the enzyme starts to act to sprout the seed. And when it starts to act to sprout the seed draws energy from the cotyledons. You know the cotyledons, this white portion. I have to hold it gently or it will break. This white portion is the cotyledon. It draws its food from the cotyledon and puts its root down into the soil. So that is what was happening. When it draws its food, naturally, some of the proteins and carbs are consumed. The proteins are the things that make the enzyme. The proteins are activated and becomes the enzymes that stimulate the growth of the plant. And when the plant grows into sprouts, see, we call this as mung bean sprouts. We soak it, and the next day or in 2 days we consume it, and we call it mung bean sprout. But that is not what is really referred to as mung bean sprout, which has for 100 grams it has only very little carbs and very little protein in the sprouts. I'll tell you how much. 100 grams of dry sprouted became 260 grams. The sprouts 100 gram has 30 calories only, and 5 grams of carbs and 3 grams of proteins and 2 grams of fiber. The sprout 100 grams when sprouted, it will have 100 grams of sprouts, not when sprouted. 100 grams of sprouts have 5 grams of carbs, so it becomes carbs becomes very much less. 3 grams of protein, and protein also becomes less. Otherwise 100 grams of this has 63 grams of carbs and 24 grams of protein and 4 grams of fiber. When it sprouts, the fiber does not go down, it goes up because of the parts of the plant. Actually, if you had soaked it, it would become 100 grams of mung bean. When I soaked and sprouted, it became 260 grams of soaked beans, and it became 5 cups of soaked beans. And if I take 1 cup or 100 grams of that, I will by weight, or they have given in by weight 100 grams of sprout. If I calculate in relation to this 100 grams of dry beans content and the volume and weight that this has become, it should have 9 grams of protein and 24 grams of carbs. However, it has only 5 grams of carbs and 3 grams of protein. So what has happened is, as you all understood, it goes into the protein becomes some enzymes for growth. The plant draws energy from the cotyledons and sprouts. So the energy is used up by the plant to grow in the form of protein, as well as proteins go into building cells. I don't know if plant cells have protein, but they must have. So plants use those proteins and carbs, and they create a lot of gas also. Gases are the byproducts of all our metabolic processes. So this creates a lot of gas, and when we sprout it for more than 1 day, each day you have to wash and rinse and dry and drain it and then replace it. Otherwise it will smell and it will ferment. So what exactly is the mung bean sprouts that they are speaking of with just 3 grams of carbs? It is not this sprout. This has been sprouted for 4 days. If you just soak it, and the next day when the small plant root is coming out, that is what we are calling mung bean sprouts, and we are using that as sprouted mung beans to make pesarat, or we just saute it, or we eat it with a little bit of coconut. If you don't have if you don't have diabetes, you can add a little jaggery and grated coconut and eat it. That is a delicious and very nutritious source of fiber, carbs, protein, vitamins and minerals. So that this is the I have used a website China Sichuan food. In that the mung bean and the soaked mung bean, after 1 day they become double in size and sprouts begin to appear. That is what we called cheruvayar mulappichadu, or sprouted beans. So as the days progress, it becomes like this. So they have a science for sprouting mung beans. They drain it in baskets every day, wash it and then put it back in they sprout it in a mud pot with a lid traditionally, so that the beans are kept in the dark, and keep it in a dark corner. They say if you keep it where there is light, I had kept this where there is light, the sprouting will be slower, and also there will be a photosynthesis. They will take energy from the sun and energy from the cotyledons, and photosynthesis will take place and it will turn green. The mung bean sprouts that they use in Szechuan cooking looks like this. See how pretty and nice and white it is. This is what they use in salads, and this is what they call mung bean sprout. And it is the nutrition of this sprout that is just 3 grams of carbs and 2 or so grams of protein. So this is the mung bean sprout salad. Whoever has gone out to eat Chinese food would have seen this item. I have not had this. This is mung bean sprout. That is where the protein is less and the carbs are less. So when you are using sprouts, just keep it soaked, and when the small roots start to appear, use it. Either grind it and make dosha, or cook it and make a curry, or use it as a salad with add some tomatoes and onions and a little lime, salt and pepper. It will taste delicious. So that is all about the doubt about mung bean sprouts. So I hope you found this informative and enjoyable, and if you like it, please like, share and subscribe.